Less than 1,000 kilometers northeast of Moscow lies the city of Kirov. It's a regional capital, home to 500,000 people, and if you like places that combine the historical with the modern, this is the town for you. At first glance, Kirov isn't exactly easy on the eye. It was a closed military city until the fall of the Soviet Union, and parts of the town still feel like they belong in a bygone era. But the city is developing. It's a transport hub, outside investment is starting to improve facilities here, and amongst the buildings, you can still find a few diamonds in the rough.
Now, the place I'm about to visit is a real Kirov institution. It's one of the oldest buildings in the whole city, and for more than 2 centuries, it's been the centre of the region's printing industry.
Books, newspapers, calendars, magazines. If it needs paper, they'll print it. And they get through more than 40 tons every week. There's been a press here since 1792, and although they have some of the latest technology available, there are still a few relics of a bygone age.
So I love this, the fact that you get the bits of history combined with the modern here as well. It's something that I guess would be about 1930s, right, with something that's straight out of the 21st century.
And in the next room, there's a machine that might easily have used it, although nowadays it serves a rather different purpose.
We take it with the right hand and remove it with the left one.
It's strange to think that machines like this are as old as printing is itself, and that hundreds of years ago a press almost like this one might have produced a first folio of Shakespeare or a Gutenberg Bible. This one is producing packaging for delicious nutty treats. Not quite as prestigious, but of course still useful. Let's see if I can make this one work without destroying my hands. Okay.
Fortunately, under Elena's watchful supervision, I managed to escape with all my fingers intact, and I headed into the modern heart of the factory. It takes 6 men a good 20 minutes to get this machine warmed up, and once it starts, it really knows how to shift.
Now this is where the printing factory moves into the 21st century, the newspaper press. This huge machine can produce 23,000 copies an hour. Quite literally, hot off the presses.
I couldn't help noticing that the newspaper had a section advertising some live music in the local park, and it seemed like a perfect place to meet my guide to the city.
This park is named Alexandrovsky Park. So it was built and planted in honor of Alexander I, the Tsar.
When was it built?
Like in the 18th, 19th centuries.
Anna is a secondary school teacher, a born and bred Kirovite, and she knows this town inside out.
From this place, you can see the St. Tryphon's Monastery.
Oh, yes.
You can see the bell tower in the church. And there's also a St. Spring where people get water.
There are areas of the city that are less picturesque. Kirov has a real problem with its roads, which are supposed to be some of the worst in Russia. And the overwhelming colour on the streets is a steely grey. Change has been slow, but Anna says that life here is starting to improve.
I think life became even better. We have new things here. We have new plants like the blood plant, and we have new hospitals, we have new streets, we have new stores. Everything is developing.
And as a teacher, she's very proud of their education system.
We have a lot of universities here, and those even who study here, they can find a good job even abroad.
Anna invited me to her school to see the facilities for myself, and also to attend one of the most solemn ceremonies of the year, if you're a 7-year-old, that is.
I know that when I was little, the thought of going to grown-up school was a pretty scary one. But here in Russia, they have a ceremony that's supposed to make everyone feel welcome. And you get to wear some pretty cool hats.
This is where all the first years officially begin their formal education. And it gives the various classes a chance to show their proud mums and dads a few routines. But it's not only the little ones being welcomed into the school. They run a foreign exchange program here, and several students from across the globe have come to experience a Russian way of life and improve their language skills.
The cow gives the milk away, but it has to be the other way.
The cow spells with C, but then I need to find another pen. This one is broken, so to speak. We seem to end up with no milk.
Each student comes for an academic year, and after the ceremony, I dropped in on a group of Americans and Germans having a Russian lesson.
So guys, we have a guest today here, and this is James. Please welcome. James, come here.
Hello, everybody. This is a Russian lesson. I shall try and do this in Russian. Здравствуйте. Меня зовут James. Я журналист из Москвы.
They're encouraged to try and immerse themselves as much as possible, although, of course, every new city has its challenges.
Are you finding that that's helping your Russian more, the fact that you're forced to communicate in Russian?
A lot. Like, I've got two host sisters, and one speaks no English and one speaks some English. So, like, when you need things communicated, it's really helpful to have a sister who can communicate and translate. But for everyday things, like learning the words to use to, you know, make kettle boil, that's helpful.
Mm-hmm.
We go for walks, and we go to cafes, and then we go home and do homework.
But in my city, it's not a city, it's a village, and there's 2,000 people, and there's nothing. There is nothing. So here is cafes, here's a cinema, here's a square, so that's better.
I think living in a city, when you live so close to so many other people, it's easier to find groups or clubs that you are interested in. So in that respect, I think it's nice. It's a nice city for young people, but I don't think that it's necessarily a great city for maybe nightlife.
But first and foremost, they're here to study, and Anna's determined that when they do go home, they'll have had the full Russian experience.
As it is an academic program, so the main objective of the course is learning the language. But it's not only the language that we learn, but also the culture and traditions of the country they stay.
Whether or not they go home speaking like natives, the guys are certainly going to be loaded down with souvenirs. And you can't get much more authentically Kirov than these Dimka toys. Lydia and her daughter are carrying on a local tradition that started in the neighbouring village of Dimkova and goes back more than 400 years. From brightly coloured milkmaids to a huge variety of animals, each piece is handmade, and I was about to learn some of their secrets.
The reason why toys were made locally was that there were many rich merchants in Kirov. They decorated their homes with such toys. People in Dimkova didn't have enough money to buy toys for their children, so they supplied their children with toys made locally. At the same time, wealthier people decorated their homes with toy horses, cows, and the like.
And I was put to work on some bird life.
So I am in fact going to try and make a duck, I think.
We put the head here and then glue it.
Presume a little surgery here. Oh, look, this.
We take a piece of clay and do like this.
I think my duck, that's a duck that might actually swim and be able to eat. Perhaps my countless lessons I'm actually improving slightly.
Put it here. It must dry at room temperature for 4 days.
Right, so this is quite a long process, it seems, that you have to leave them to dry in the room temperature for 4 more days.
Then we'll burn it in an oven.
Okay. And then they go in the oven and they bake.
But of course, that's really just the start. After the piece has been fired, you've got all that delicate brushwork to take care of.
So I get the bear with the balalaika. Not the bear with the banjo. A talented bear. I just have to paint him white.
I doubt my masterpiece will be joining any sales catalogue, but Lydia has had some serious VIPs walk through her doors.
Well, it looks like I've been walking in some pretty famous footsteps here, because the ladies made this ram with President Medvedev, would you believe? But I think I got the better deal, because not only did I get to make an amazing duck, but I also got to paint a bear.
Kirov's Dimka toys may have been around for 4 centuries, but the fur trade here has been going on far longer. The area is rich in mink, fox, and even introduced raccoon, and the local Kalinka factory has been making the most of it. It was founded in 1991 and has gained a reputation for international collections and its bespoke clothing.
So this must be where everything starts, yes?
Starts.
This is the designer with a pencil and a piece of paper. She draws models of jackets, coats, hats.
The factory employs around 100 people who take care of the various stages of production. And once the garment starts to take shape, it's time for the embroidery.
We make design on leather, so they embroider a picture on a piece of leather.
Compared to the Western world, there's little stigma attached to wearing fur in Russia, and the shuba, or fur coat, is still a part of most women's wardrobe. Although if you want to pick up one of these designs, you'll need very deep pockets.
So I guess this would be the really exclusive stuff.
This jacket is made from sheepskin, so short-cutted sheepskin.
And the lining.
And the lining, yeah. And here is long woolen sheepskin. Embroidery made out of leather.
Dare I ask about how much would this set you back?
$800.
About $800, okay. Now this one is really unusual. I don't think I've ever seen fur or like this before. Where is this from?
Afghanistan, Astrakhan, and mink, black llama.
So this is quite rare, quite unusual combination.
And quite expensive.
But with orders coming in from across the country, it seems that there are people willing to pay the high prices. And a new campaign for the 2014 Winter Olympics in Sochi is likely to give Kalinka even more publicity.
Fur production is always going to be controversial, but in Russia, it's just a fact of life. When the temperatures plunge, out come the shubas. But if you want a new one, well, that's going to cost you.
But if you don't happen to have several $1,000s just lying around, there are always other ways to make money, like digging for it. Eduard carries a metal detector and spade with him everywhere he goes, and it seems Kirov has a few prime spots for buried treasure.
Now, you might not believe it, but where we're standing, there used to be a village. Now, it was abandoned 40 years ago, but it was actually here for centuries. And Eduard and his friends thinks there still might be a few things worth finding here. So let's see.
But it turns out that metal detecting here can be a rather hazardous profession.
It's really for bears? Yes. Holy crap, there are really bears here?
Yes.
Ah, excellent. That's good news.
Fortunately, our furry friends kept their distance, and we were able to start hunting. Eduard's been searching spots like these for more than a decade, and he's had quite a few impressive discoveries.
I found a medal. It was made in 1862 by the Russian craftsman. Such a find is not a surprise in England. There are a lot of such medals. But how it appeared here in Kirov is a mystery.
And it wasn't long before we came on something ourselves.
Look at that, 2 kopeck coin.
With dreams of hidden riches running through my head, I decided to have a go myself, although it didn't quite work out like that.
It's like a bee buzzing in your ear. Look at this. I have not got the slightest clue what that is. Well, this is excellent. I've got like part of a fence, the button from an accordion.
It rang like a coin.
God. I might be able to actually make something in about a year. Fabulous. More treasure, onward.
But then the metal detector started going crazy, and I was sure we were onto something big.
It's a basin.
Well, big it was, valuable it was not. We might not have ended up millionaires, but it had been a real adventure coming out with Eduard, and he left me with a few keepsakes to take home.
Isn't it strange? Within about just a couple of hours searching, we found things from 3 different areas of the village. 19th century belt buckle, this coin from the last years of Imperial Russia, 1913. And finally, a little Soviet army jacket button. I think that's some pretty good treasure hunting for one day.
And it was time for me to go and see what else I could dig up about life in the Kirov region. Now, plenty of people have had the urge to abandon the trappings of the 21st century, but could you imagine living your life as if it was 1009 rather than 2009? Well, in Kirov, there's a man who's done just that.
Now, this place looks like it could be straight out of a grim fairy tale. And even looks like it might be home to some enormous witch.
Fortunately for me, the witch wasn't home. But just around the corner, little did I know I was about to bump into a medieval blacksmith. Roman is the head of one of Kirov's most popular historical societies, and he considers himself a modern-day Viking.
We forge here. It's our little smithy and a house. This meadow belongs to our club. We arrange holidays. We can rest and even sleep here. Sometimes we spend the weekends. People in our club make different decorations and weapons. We just have fun. For example, axe throwing.
Every Viking needs to prepare for a day's pillaging with some weapons practice, and Roman's got that down to a fine art.
Okay, one.
I, on the other hand, may require a few more lessons.
Almost in the middle.
But Roman's not a man to tolerate weakness, and he invited me along to his training group where they recreate historical battles. And it's not for the faint-hearted.
Form a wall. Battle formation.
Tremble, puny villagers, for James the Destroyer is here to crush your menfolk and drink your ale, much of your ale.
Unfortunately, it turns out that fighting with what feels like the equivalent of a small car on your body is really quite hard. And these guys used to do this all day. Mind-boggling.
I am the mighty, the head of the team.
I am Yashka, the lover of women.
I am James, the incredibly tired.
As I changed back into my civvies, I decided it was time to let some other people run around, and I headed off to watch one of Kirov's most popular and unusual sports. This is bandy, a combination of football and ice hockey that was apparently invented by the British in the 19th century. Although, sadly, like many of our sports, we're not very good at it. But the Russians are, and supposedly have the top 10 teams in the world. Kirov's Rodina is one of them. The game is played on a field the size of a football pitch, uses a round plastic ball, and unlike ice hockey, there's minimal physical contact.
As this is a sport that requires primarily skill and agility, it's definitely better that I stay firmly on this side of the ice. But you can really see why a game that takes the best of ice hockey and football would capture people's imagination. And I haven't even seen anyone try a Ronaldo-style dive yet. Even better.
And the people here love their team. Open-air matches can attract up to 10,000 spectators, even in the dead of winter. But those who prefer to watch their sport from the comfort of their armchair might well be seeing this man during the half-time adverts. This is Renato, an expat Italian who runs a couple of Kirov's best restaurants, and a man I was very keen to meet. Renato swapped Milan for Russia almost 20 years ago, and he's been educating palates here ever since. The chance to help make some of my favourite salads was too good to pass up.
Please, mister.
Thank you very much.
Renato started up a pizzeria in Moscow in the early 90s, But after his daughter was born, he decided to move out of the big city. And as his wife's from Kirov, it seemed like the obvious choice.
5 years ago, we come in the Kirov, opened this restaurant.
And how have the Russians reacted to having a real Italian restaurant here? Was it a surprise for them?
This is a big surprise for city. One Italian restaurant, every this product, every this shock for this salad, every shock for the fresh fish and
like Mediterranean.
First time the look. After, oh, it's good. After come, after build a place for rich peoples.
Yes, sure.
And after a few finishing touches, I was ready to try it for myself.
No messing around.
Please, you can eat now.
Oh, that's what I was waiting for you to say. That really was. Look, I tell you, that is so rare to have something look that good and smell that good. Real Italian food, fantastic. Grazie mille.
Prego, signore. Buon appetito.
I found the best restaurant in Kirov, but there were a couple of other things I wanted to see before I headed back to Moscow. Now, normally, I don't hitch lifts with strange men on motorcycles. Honest. But I'd been told that the city had one of Russia's most unusual bikers' clubs. Although to find it, you needed someone in the know. I had been expecting to be dropped off at some leather-clad bar, so I was a little surprised when I opened the door to a church. Was my new friend hinting I should pray for my soul? Maybe the local vicar could shed some light on things.
Good evening. I'm sorry, I think I was told that this was actually a bikers' club. But it looks like I've made a bit of a mistake.
Hello, I'll explain everything to you. Wait a moment, I'll be back.
Okay, конечно. Okay, well, this is very bizarre. I've been dropped off here by a biker who said I'd meet other bikers. I've met a priest who said that he will explain exactly what all that means. And in the meantime, I'm really not sure what's going on.
But then, all was revealed as I met Father Alexander, Kirov's very own biker priest. He's the founder of the city's motorcycle club. Although admittedly, they're not exactly Hell's Angels.
Hello.
Hello. Alexander took me outside and introduced me to some fellow club members, including my old friend Anatoly. As well as riding, the group also meet to restore old bikes, although I think this one's going to take some serious work.
So this was a real Russian classic about 45 years ago, the Vятka's equivalent, Kirov's equivalent to the Italian Vespa. Seen better days, a little bit of Russian bike history here.
This certainly isn't your typical biker club, but Kirov's Christian riders have become part of the landscape, united by a love of God and the road.
So it looks like Father Alexander and Anatoly are off to spread the biker word one last time this year. But as for me, I think I'm going to enjoy the rest of Kirov on foot.
It was almost time for me to leave the city, but I always like to check out a bit of the local music scene on my travels. Although in the basement of the jazz cafe, it wasn't quite what I'd been expecting. These are the Shakers, a little slice of 1950s America in northeastern Russia, and one of Kirov's most popular bands.
Now, all true fans of the king know that he isn't really dead. But who knew that he was alive, well, and living in Kirov? Okay, I have to say that I wasn't expecting to come to Kirov and hear music like that. That is awesome.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure.
How did you guys get into playing kind of 50s country and all the old rock and roll?
Well, you know, we've been playing this music, I mean, rockabilly and country and western for almost 17 years. And we got to know about it from our parents, who were also big fans, great fans of this music and Elvis Presley and Bill Haley. So that's how it happened.
This is about as authentic as I've seen, I think.
Well, you're right. The fact is that we're the only group, the only band around, and I think that the popularity of this music and of our band depends on this fact. Once or twice a month we go outside our region and rock the house.
But thankfully tonight, their hometown crowd was getting the benefit, and everyone was in the mood for a party. You have to scratch under the surface to get the best out of Kirov. At first glance, you might be reminded of a grey, provincial Soviet town, but it's the people that really give this city its colour. And they're some of the most vibrant and diverse that I've had the pleasure of meeting.